This is Peter Santos from Bookwrights House, and I'm absolutely thrilled with speaking with you today, Mr. Harold Antor. Today, everyone, we have here an expert of sales and author of a remarkable new book that's been receiving reviews. Harold think his book is Make It Happen, Discover the Secrets to Success in Sales. Harold, thank you for taking your time in joining us today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, amazing. So let's start from the very beginning. Can you tell us more about yourself and how you came to be so successful in sales?
It's not every day that you get someone asking you to tell you about yourself, right? But I'll give you a little bit of background. And in chapter 1 of my book, I started out with laying out some of the background information about me.
Yeah.
But I was born and raised in the Bahamas, but I am from an immigrant mother. My mother came to the Bahamas illegally as an immigrant, as many Haitians do. My mother's from Haiti. And my mother and father, who are both Haitians, met in the Bahamas. And they had me, but they were never married to each other.
Okay.
So, in fact, my father was married already. When my father was married and had a family, and they had an affair, and they had me. So I say in my book that some years later, when I realized what had happened, I came to acknowledge that I was a bastard, right? Because I never met my father until I was about, I believe I was 16 or 17 years old. I met my father. So my mother who's 88 years old now, she's a domestic worker. She was, at least. Obviously, she's retired now. And life for us was very, very difficult. I am the oldest of 6 children. So being the oldest brother and the quote-unquote only man in the house, I had the responsibility to taking care of my siblings and actually my mother as time went on. And there's a whole lot of stories in between that. Because my mother made very little money, our lives were very difficult growing up. And I got to a point where I think it was 1987. It was 1987. We were living in very substandard conditions. And I remember sitting in the living room in this really dilapidated place that we were living. It was not nice at all. At that time, I was 21, I believe. I was born in 66. I was 21. And I said to myself, I really do not want this life for me and my family. I had no wife, no children at the time. But I said, you know what? Couple of years before that, somebody had introduced me to the world of Amway. I don't know if you've ever heard about Amway. Amway is a company that sells, it's a multi-level marketing company that sells cleaning products, and now they sell all kinds of things. But somebody introduced me to Amway when I was about 17 years old. So I got exposed to how life could be. I got exposed to the idea and the concept of dreaming, and the fact that you can really, with your own blood, sweat, and tears, pull up yourself from your bootstraps and so forth, right? So I got involved because Amway, they really encourage you to read positive books and listen to positive tapes of successful people. So I did a lot of that. That's how I got to know Dennis Waitley, Og Mandino, David Schwartz, the power of positive thinking, Think and Grow Rich, and all of those kinds of books, which I read all of them. So when I got to 21 years old, I said to myself, you know what, this is not the life that I want. I want a better life. So I wrote down that day a list of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that very clearly doing that. I wrote down split level house. And tell you the truth, I did not know what that meant at the time, but it sounded good. I heard people talking about it all the time. I have a split level house or this. So I used to drive around various neighborhoods
Mm-hmm.
and look at these big homes and just, wish and wonder. First of all, I couldn't figure out how people did it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I wrote that down. I wrote the kind of cars that I wanted. I wrote down the kind of work that I want to do. I'm a Christian, so I wrote down Christian, being involved in Christian ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down what I wanted to do for my family, blah, blah. I wrote all those things down.
Mm-hmm.
And not too long after that, actually, I met the woman who is now my wife. I met her when I was 21. At the time I wrote that, I don't think we had met, but I met her at 21. And I was working at the bank as a teller. Because I met her and we started to get serious, I started to think about moving from the bank and finding a job that can pay some more money.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine introduced me to the insurance business.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, I got into the insurance business. I quit the bank. I put my head down and I worked very hard. And I started to experience some successes.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, really, I did not know. It was my first foray into full-time sales. I did sales, just small kind of things. I sold straw work and tourist stuff as a kid. But this is the first time I worked in full-time sales.
Mm-hmm.
So shortly thereafter, after getting in the insurance business, I started to do well. And I said to my wife, I think I like this, but I need more education. My mother obviously could not afford to send me off to college. So from the money that I made, the couple of dollars that I made, I did not make enough to pay fully for college, but I made enough to pay for a semester, right?
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we packed up and we went to Guthrie, Oklahoma from Nassau, Bahamas, as a married couple. And on a wing and a prayer, and I went to Langston University. I did a bachelor's degree there. And my wife did a bachelor's degree. And when I got out, I went back into the insurance business. I moved to a whole new town, and I committed myself to working hard. And not too long after that, I got a bachelor's. Not bachelor's. I qualified for the $1 Million Round Table first time in 1997. And in 99, I was made a branch manager, and I helped a number of other people qualify for the $1 Million Round Table. And then I decided that I needed more education, so I went and got an MBA degree from the University of Miami. And then shortly after that, I started my own insurance brokerage with a couple of friends, and that's what I've been doing now. And my wife and I, we have 3 children. All of our children are doing very well, in finance and teaching and so forth. And so that gives you some background on me, how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your extensive and inspiring and interesting background you have, Mr. Antor. So what made you, so moving on, sales is a field that requires a unique combination of skills. So what made you choose sales as the sales industry as your career path?
Well, I worked at a bank in the Bahamas. There's a bank called the Bank of Nova Scotia. I worked at the bank for 6 years, and the town that I live in is, for most places, is a relatively small town. There's only about 50,000 people in. I was born and raised in Freeport, Grand Bahama. So we had one branch of this particular bank, and working at the bank was a very good job. So people who had that job did not leave that job. So it was difficult to advance. In order for you to get promoted and people to move up, especially if you're going to stay in the same place, we would say somebody has to die. So when I got to the point of recognizing that I need to make more money in order if I'm going to take on a wife, because I was struggling really just helping out my family with the job that I have. But now I have to take on a wife. I started to look around and think about things that I can do. I thought about, that's one of the reasons why I was pushing the Amway thing. And I didn't have any capital to really start a business and didn't have any business experience. And it was really a friend of mine at church one night who walked up to me and said, he said, Harold, I think you would do good. He was in the insurance business. He said, Harold, I think you would do good in the insurance business. I didn't believe him. I was not interested in insurance at the time. But he caught me at a very good time because I was looking for a way to make more money.
Okay.
So I said to him, okay, if I were interested, not that I am, I said, but if I were interested, what should I do? He said, go down the road and speak to this person, speak to that person. And I did that. And funny enough, when I went there, there's a test that they ask you to do. It's called a career profile test. In the insurance business, call it a CP test. And that helps them to weed out the good and the bad prospects. For most job interviews, you do about 3 interviews and then they tell you whether or not you got the job, right? Well, in this particular case, I did 1 interview, I took the test, and the guy gave me a stack of books like this, a huge stack of books to read about insurance and so forth and so on. And it was not a 3 interview, come back and you're hired kind of thing. So I started to read the books and stuff, and then but mind you, I still had my job, so I hadn't left my job yet. So about a year down the road, this was in must have been 88 or 89, probably 89. I gave the books back to him and said to him, man, this process is taking too long. I'm going to find something else to do. So I left that for about 6 months, maybe even a year. And in that period, I got married. I got married in June of 1990. And shortly afterwards, after I got married and got back from, before I got married, this is in early 1990, the guy who was the manager, he came into the bank looking for me. And he called me over and he said, Harold, you did good. You did real good, because this was another year. And he is always looking for new recruits. So he came back to me and he said, Harold, you did good on that CP test. You should take another look at this business. I still had not solved my problem, which is to find another job that would pay me more money. But my wedding was coming up. So I said to him, his name is Bob. I said, Bob, I'm getting married in June. Once I get back from my honeymoon, I'm going to come by and see you. And that's how I went on my honeymoon to Mexico. I came back, and in July or August, I started meeting with him again. I quit my job in October of 1990, and I started the insurance business on the 1st of November 1990. That's how I got insurance. And at the bank, I had a fixed salary. In insurance, it was strictly commission. I was scared to death, because here it is now, I had taken on a new wife, and I'm now moving from a fixed salary situation to a commission situation. So I realized that I had to sink or swim. So I put all in it, and I said, I have to make this work.
And you did, and it's really a good
best decision I ever made.
Yes, it was. And it was really a good and insight on how you started your sales.
Yes, in terms of a career.
Yeah. All right. So I'm pretty sure our audience our audience is eager to know what inspired you to write this book and what drove you to put your knowledge into writing.
Well, here's what happened, right? As a in my company, I hire and train over the years a whole lot of salespeople, right? That's a part of my job as a branch manager. And one of the guys that I hired and trained, eventually he left and went on to do something else. So a couple of years later, this was in, I believe it was 2018, he called me out of the clear blue sky and said, Mr. Antor, I am putting on a business conference and so forth. And I'm inviting a number of speakers to come in to speak about various things. And I would like you, because I had trained him and he was familiar with me. He called me and said, I would like you to do a session on sales training. I said, fine. I had not done that outside of my usual line of work before. So this was the first time that I was doing it to non-insurance people and people who I did not hire. So I prepared for the meeting, and at that session, I remember it very clearly. I'm standing there and presenting. I prepared this whole PowerPoint, and I was speaking to this group of people in the room. And my slide, I must have had about 30 slides or so. But I got into it with the people, and he had only given me 1 hour. I think it was from 11 to 12. By the time I got to 12 o'clock, I had only covered a couple of slides, and it was time for the next speaker to come. The next speaker was actually at the door waiting. People were sitting there with their mouths open, and they were just hungry. And I did not have that experience before. Because most of the time I'm training people who I hired, and the salespeople. But these are people in all kind of different backgrounds. They were not in the insurance business, and they were not my hires. I was just a speaker. So after that, they wanted me to wait around for the other speaker to finish to continue what I was doing. So, you know what I said, you know what? I need more time. So I started putting on sales seminars. And the sales seminars went well. And then COVID hit. So I couldn't have people in a room anymore. And somebody said to me, man, you really should put this stuff in a book. Right? I actually did some sales training videos on Udemy. It's on there now. But somebody said, Harold, you should put this in a book. So I decided to write a book because what I realized is people out there are hungry to be successful, to make a better life for themselves, but they don't know how. And there aren't enough people out there providing the guidance that people need to be able just to be able to build a life where you can live in a nice house or a decent house, and you can have great vacations. You can have money to educate your kids and buy decent food and buy decent clothes. And that's where I was. And my mother grew me up in that environment. We were poor. And I said, you know what? This sales avenue created for me a whole new life. And I said, you know what? I believe that if I can share with people how the sales opportunity, regardless of what kind of sales you're doing, but if you could do it right, you could change your life. And that's really what the message of my book.
All right, that's amazing that that you already would want the world to know through the book. And if they can't attend your seminar, you have the book, right? And then they can read it. So moving on, what are the main goals you have that you want to achieve in this book, and what do you want your readers to walk away with it?
Well, the biggest thing, if there is one thing that I want people to walk away from with this book,
Mm-hmm.
is the knowledge and the feeling that I can make a better life for myself through sales.
Yeah.
That's the core message of the book.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The core message is, guys, listen, you know, a lot of people get out of school, even though they may have studied one thing or another, but they're still not sure what to do. They don't know how to get ahead in life.
Mm-hmm.
And there are got to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are doing all kind of sales job and just not succeeding. Because not that they can't, it's just that they're not getting the right guidance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I want to say to people, listen, if you are in sales, here is a book that has the yellow brick road. If you follow the yellow brick road, you will get to see the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Yes.
And I say to other people, listen, don't be afraid of a career in sales. If you follow the steps in this book, you can build a very successful life through a sales career. It doesn't matter if you're selling insurance, computers, books, real estate, whatever.
That's amazing. That's it's a good thing that you are sharing these goals and sharing this and a good opportunity that you can share to the readers and to people. If it's okay with you, could you be able to share a few key points or takeaway from the book that you believe are crucial for sales professionals?
Absolutely. As I thought about, it wasn't until a couple of years ago, after I was asked to do the presentation and to prepare for the presentation, that I started to think about the elements of sales, and that the question that I posed in the book popped into my head. And that question is this: what is it that makes the difference between these guys who are so successful and they in sales, right? People see me today, and I don't want to brag on myself and so forth, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of people see me and they think that, hey, I've done so well in sales, and they think that I've been like this all of my life. But when I stepped back and analyzed, I came up with 5 very critical, what I call secrets. But these secrets are in plain sight.
Yeah.
That if you apply these 5 secrets, you'll be successful in sales. The first one is motivation.
Yes.
Right? You have to have dreams and goals that drive you, that wakes you up out of bed every day, that makes you want to achieve something. You have to have motivation. Number 1. Second, you have to have, I call it mental armor, because sales can be very challenging and it can affect your head, especially when people talk down to you and tell you, get away, I'm not interested, you guys are scammers, and all you want to do is take people money, you don't do anything for people, and you don't add any value, get away, get off my phone, and they hang up on you, right?
Yes.
Mental armor, you have to have that. That's the second thing. The third thing is you have to have sales strategies. You have to decide on how you are going to execute your work to be able to achieve your sales goals and objectives. The fourth thing is you have to have specific sales skills. You have to know how to move through the sales process, right? And the fifth and final thing is you have to have product knowledge.
Okay.
Whatever product it is that you're selling, whether it's computers, whether it's cars, real estate, equipment, whatever it is you're selling, you have to have product knowledge. Those 5 things: motivation, mental armor, sales strategies, sales skills, product knowledge.
Thank you so much for that. So again, the the key points that you would want to share to us is, first, you need to have your motivation, the mental armor, sales strategy, specific sales skills that you need to have, and especially product knowledge. And we thank you for that.
Product knowledge. You need to know. You need to know what value your product brings.
Yeah.
Why should somebody buy it, and how should it? How does it help them achieve their objectives, their goals?
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Antor. Now, how can someone get your book?
Actually, my book, I just mentioned it to somebody just a few minutes ago. It's right now, the book is online. Obviously, you can go to Amazon, just go to Amazon and put in the bar, Make It Happen, Harold Antor. And it should come up right away. I also have an audio book. The audio book is, I believe it's on Amazon as well. And I also believe that my book is on Barnes and Noble and one or two other places. But
yeah, would you be able to show or share your copy of your book you have right now? That's it. Yes. Guys, it's Make It Happen, Discover the Secrets for Success in Sales, and available in Amazon and also in audiobook. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Harold, Mr. Antor, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experience, and especially your background with sales to us today. Your experience is truly inspiring, and I'm sure many of our viewers are eager to dive into your book. And I wish the best of luck with your future projects.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Take care.